In the bustling city of Lagos, where the sun beats down on the roofs of the rich and poor alike, traffic is the great equalizer. Sitting in the back of his air-conditioned Mercedes was Emeka. He was the only son of Chief Badmus, a billionaire oil tycoon. Emeka had everything a man could want: money, degrees from London, and designer clothes, but his heart was empty. One sweltering afternoon, stuck in the legendary go-slow of the Third Mainland Bridge, he looked out the window. He saw her. She was hawking oranges, weaving dangerously between cars. Her name was Nneka. Sweat glistened on her dark skin like diamonds. Despite the heavy tray on her head, she smiled at a rude driver who almost hit her. Emeka was captivated. He had dated models and actresses, but none had the grace of this orange seller. He rolled down his window. "Buy everything," he told her, handing her a bundle of cash that could pay her rent for a year. Nneka looked at the money, then at him, and shook her head. "I don't have change for this, sir," she said softly. Emeka smiled. He wasn't looking for change, he was looking for a wife. Emeka returned to that spot every day. He didn't buy oranges to eat, he bought them to talk to Nneka. He learned that she wasn't just a street girl, she was a university dropout who had left school to pay for her mother's surgery. She was sharp, witty, and spoke with a wisdom far beyond her years. They began to meet secretly. Emeka would park his luxury car blocks away and walk to meet her at a local buka restaurant. They ate amala with their hands, laughing about everything and nothing. For the first time, Emeka felt seen for who he was, not for his father's wallet. But he knew the bubble had to burst. In his world, princes didn't marry paupers. His mother, Lolo Beatrice, was the president of the high-class women's society. She had already picked a wife for him, the daughter of a minister. Emeka knew he had to make a choice, his inheritance or his heart. He chose his heart, but he had to convince the lions in his home first. 6 months later, Emeka made up his mind. He held Nneka's rough, hard-working hands in his soft, manicured ones. "I want you to meet my parents," he said. Nneka froze. She dropped the spoon she was holding. "Emeka, are you mad?" she whispered. "Your father is Chief Badmus. I sell oranges. They will chew me and spit me out." Emeka insisted. "They need to know the woman who stole my heart. I don't care about their money. I care about you." Nneka was terrified. She looked at her faded clothes and her worn-out sandals. She felt small. But looking into Emeka's eyes, she found courage. She agreed on one condition. She would not pretend to be someone she wasn't. She would not borrow clothes or fake an accent. She would go as Nneka, the orange seller. It was a brave decision, but as the elders say, you cannot hide the smoke when the house is burning. The clash of two worlds was about to begin. The day of the introduction arrived. The atmosphere was heavy with tension. Emeka arrived at Nneka's one-room apartment to pick her up. She had bathed with scented soap and worn her best dress, a simple, clean Ankara gown that cost less than the handkerchief in Emeka's pocket. She had braided her hair neatly back. She looked beautiful in a natural, undeniable way. "You look like a queen," Emeka said, kissing her forehead. Nneka smiled nervously. "I hope your mother thinks so," she replied. As they drove toward the exclusive Banana Island estate, the houses grew bigger, and Nneka's confidence grew smaller. The gates of the Badmus mansion loomed over them like the entrance to a fortress. Security guards with guns bowed as Emeka drove in. Nneka gripped her seatbelt. She whispered a silent prayer to God, asking for protection against the storm she was about to walk into. They walked through the massive mahogany doors. The house smelled of lavender and money. The floor was so polished Nneka could see her reflection in it, a reflection that looked out of place. Sitting on gold-rimmed velvet chairs were Chief Badmus and Lolo Beatrice. Lolo Beatrice was dripping in diamonds. Her headgear, gele, was so large it seemed to touch the ceiling. When Emeka walked in holding Nneka's hand, the room went ice cold. Lolo Beatrice didn't even stand up. She slowly lowered her glasses and scanned Nneka from head to toe, her eyes lingering on Nneka's cheap sandals. "Emeka," Lolo said, her voice dripping with disdain, "is this the new housemaid I asked you to hire? Why is she entering through the front door?" The insult hung in the air like a bad smell. Nneka squeezed Emeka's hand to stop him from shouting. The war had begun. "She is not a maid, Mama," Emeka said firmly. "This is Nneka, the woman I intend to marry." Lolo Beatrice laughed, a loud, wicked laugh that echoed off the high walls. Chief Bodmas simply grunted, scrolling through his iPad, barely acknowledging Nneka's "Good afternoon, sir." "Marry?" Lolo scoffed. "Emeka, have you been touched by village people? Who is she? Who is her father? Which university in London did she attend?" Emeka took a deep breath. "She is a businesswoman. She sells produce." Lolo Beatrice stood up. "Produce? You mean she's a market woman? A hawker?" She turned to Nneka, her eyes blazing. "Young girl, how much did you use to wash my son's head? Tell me the price of your juju, charm, so I can pay you to leave." Nneka stood tall, though her legs were shaking. "I used no charm, Ma, only love." Lolo hissed. "Love does not pay bills in this house." Dinner was served. It was a test. Lolo Beatrice had ordered a complex 5-course French meal with multiple forks and knives, knowing a village girl would be confused. Nneka sat at the long table staring at the silverware. She had never used a fish knife before. Lolo watched like a hawk, waiting for a mistake. "Go on, eat, or do you prefer to eat with your hands like a savage?" Emeka reached out to help Nneka, but Nneka gently stopped him. She watched how Chief Bodmas held his fork and mirrored him perfectly. She ate slowly with dignity. Lolo was annoyed that Nneka wasn't embarrassing herself fast enough. She decided to switch tactics. "So, Nneka," Lolo said loudly, "can you tell us about the current stock market trends, or do you only know the price of pepper?" Emeka slammed his hand on the table. "Enough, mother!" Suddenly, Chief Bodmas's phone rang. He answered it on speaker because he was shouting. It was his French partners from Paris. They were angry. The translator Chief hired made a terrible mistake in the contract numbers, and the French partners were threatening to cancel a deal worth 500 million naira. "I cannot understand them," Chief shouted, sweating. "They are speaking too fast. Where is my useless translator?" The voice on the other end was screaming in rapid French, furious about the breach of contract. Chief Bodmas looked like he was having a heart attack. "I am ruined," he gasped. "If I lose this deal, the company collapses." Emeka tried to take the phone, but he didn't speak French. Lolo Beatrice was fanning herself, panicked. The room was in chaos. The rich family was drowning, and their money couldn't save them. Amidst the shouting, a calm voice cut through the noise. "Give me the phone, sir." It was Nneka. Chief Bodmas looked at her like she was mad. "You? What can an orange seller do?" But Nneka didn't wait. She took the phone from the table. She took a deep breath and began to speak. "Monsieur, s'il vous plaît, calmez-vous. Il y a eu un malentendu." Her French was flawless. It wasn't just basic French. It was the French of a scholar. The room went silent. Chief Bodmas's mouth fell open. Lolo Beatrice froze. Nneka spoke for 10 minutes, negotiating, explaining the error, and charming the French partners with proverbs and respect. She wrote down numbers on a napkin, correcting the contract on the spot. Nneka handed the phone back to Chief Bodmas. "They're waiting for your confirmation, sir. The deal is saved. They even added a 5% bonus for your excellent new assistant." Chief Bodmas took the phone with trembling hands. The French partner on the line said, "Chief, your secretary is brilliant. Keep her and we will do business forever." Chief ended the call. He looked at the girl in the cheap Ankara dress. You speak French?" Emeka smiled proudly.
I told you she dropped out of university, father. I didn't tell you she was studying international relations and languages before poverty struck. Nneka looked down humbly. I learned languages from the tourists I sold oranges to, sir, and I read books at the library when I wasn't hawking. The dynamic in the room shifted instantly. Lolo Beatrice sat down heavily. The girl she called a savage had just saved their empire. The silence was no longer awkward, it was respectful. Chief Badmus stood up. He walked over to where Nneka sat. He didn't offer a handshake, he bowed his head slightly, a sign of immense respect from an elder. I judged a book by its cover, the chief said, his voice shaking with emotion. I saw rags, but I didn't see the gold wrapped inside. My son has better eyes than I do. He turned to his wife. Beatrice, apologize to our daughter-in-law. Lolo Beatrice, humbled for the first time in years, touched Nneka's hand. I am sorry, my child. You are not a maid. You are the matriarch this family needs. 6 months later, the wedding of Emeka and Nneka was the talk of the country. But it wasn't just because of the luxury. It was because the bride requested that all the fruit for the wedding be supplied by the street hawkers she used to work with. Nneka didn't forget where she came from. She started a foundation to help street sellers finish their education. Chief Badmus retired and made Emeka the CEO, but everyone knew that Nneka was the secret weapon behind the company's success. As they danced their first dance, Emeka whispered, I told you they would love you. Nneka laughed. They don't love me, Emeka. They respect me, and that is better. And so the orange seller became the savior, proving that destiny is not determined by where you start, but by what you carry inside you.